Hello, my name is Angela Elster, and I'm the President and CEO of the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra and the VSO School of Music. I'm thrilled you could join us here today through modern technology, a virtual discussion, a virtual launch very similar to the virtual season coming up very soon. I'm also very excited to be joined by the chair of the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra, Etienne Bruson, cellist Olivia and our music director, Maestro Otto Tusk. Thank you for joining me here today. Since March, the VSO has been busy finding ways to serve our community and to keep the music going, whilst at the same time, of course, keeping everyone safe. Have you noticed that people are turning to music for joy and comfort more than ever? And we've made sure that this captive audience is also a captivated one, a musical one, an enchanted one. Music has become the antidote to COVID-19. We see that everywhere around the world. VSO initiatives have included a cover of the Beatles' All You Need Is Love, featuring VSO musicians and Dan Mangan, alongside frontline workers actually participating in music making. We've animated our community with series of duets, trios, quartets, performances in Pyatt Hall at the VSO School of Music, as well as special live pop-ups at Grouse Mountain, Van Dusen Botanical Gardens, and all over this beautiful city. We've also witnessed our VSO at home performances of Beethoven's Fifth and Sixth, where we left off in March. They went viral with over 550,000 viewers. And that proves that there's an intense desire and need for music, especially through these difficult times. The VSO wants to be there for our audiences, for our musicians, and for the community. As such, given the current environment, today we're announcing our new virtual home that will connect audiences around the world with powerful music performed by the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra. TheConcertHall.ca, that's our virtual concert hall, presented by Cellist, will host exceptional music played, performed, and imagined by the VSO. At the VSO, we're proud to create, curate, and connect irresistible musical experiences, and we're inviting you. Subscribers to TheConcertHall.ca will receive access to a full season of VSO performances, recorded in the Orpheum and Pyatt Hall, Christchurch Cathedral, and many other beautiful Vancouver venues. It's state-of-the-art technology with high-fidelity audio and high-definition video, while, of course, always socially distancing. We want to keep everybody safe. In short, it's kind of like Netflix, but for music lovers and especially for symphony orchestra lovers. The season, which launches October 16th, so mark that in your calendar, October 16th at TheConcertHall.ca, will explore repertoire from Bach, Mozart, and early Beethoven, to Pulitzer Prize-winning African-American composer George Walker, contemporary Canadian composers, pop collaborators, and kids' performances with guest artists such as Will Strowett of CBC Kids fame. This is a strategy we were imagining long before COVID, but that dream timeline got fast-tracked by at least 4 years. Through our new virtual performance home, we are incredibly excited to celebrate the power of music and build connections around the globe through music for many years to come. Before I turn this production, this presentation over to VSO Chair Etienne Bruson, let remind you that at the end of this, we'll take questions from you. You can ask questions in YouTube or Facebook chat windows, or send an email to pr@vancouversymphony.ca. Now, Etienne, over to you.
Thank you, Angela. I'm so thrilled to share with you that the VSO's 2021 season opens up October 16, as Angela said. Uh, we're picking up where we left off, continuing the celebration of Beethoven's 250th anniversary. I don't know if many of you remember, but just before the COVID shut down, we did Beethoven Fifth at the Commodore. That's an idea that Otto had, that the orchestra would be spread out in the Commodore, and we were able to roam. Yes, we did at that point. We were able to roam, and it was a fantastic concerts. And when Angela said we're here to create, curate, and connect irresistible music experiences, that was certainly for me one of the highlights. So I'm so glad that we're picking up where we left off with Symphony Number 7 as part of the Asante Start series conducted by Otto Tusk, who's actually here in BC right now, finishing his quarantine. So maybe you can ask him a few questions around that. But he's back working with us, and we're excited also to have our dear friend, violinist James Hennies, who's also been here for a few days now, who will perform Bach's Violin Concerto Number 1 in A minor. As Angela said, digital presence is something that was very much present in the strategic plan that we had finished last summer. And this just accelerated it so importantly. And in COVID, it's so important because that virtual concert hall will go a long way towards ensuring not only that our orchestra survives and meets its purpose of providing music to our community, but also thrive in the current environment. So we want to be there for the audience, and we're very happy to resume our live performance. When Angela said it was on October 16th, the 1st, the actual time is 7:30, but we now need to say PST. Because what's fantastic around this is that the concert hall is not open only to Vancouver, BC, but nationally and worldwide. And we're certainly hoping that we will have global subscribers that are going to have the opportunity to enjoy the Vancouver Symphony's music. So by launching that concert hall, we're making sure that orchestral music, which is so vital to our society, whether it's classical or contemporary, is more easily accessible to everyone. And the concept of connections, as we did, was around connecting ourselves, connecting our communities, connecting ourselves and families with ages. That digital component allows us to reach so bigger an audience. So we're really excited, as you could see, that this is started and becoming real. So this is a challenging season still under very peculiar circumstances. And the VSO would like to acknowledge the incredible support of its sponsors and its many donors that have allowed us to basically have the ability to build that digital concert hall. So thank you to everyone that supported the VSO. This season marks the 70th anniversary of the VSO's relationship with Cellist. So it's fitting that Cellist sponsors the TheConcertHall.ca. And we would also like to thank Asante Vancouver Centre, Newmont Canada, RGF Financial Planning, London Drugs, and Origino, all series sponsors of this upcoming season. So thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Etienne. Beautifully said. And yes, we owe a debt of gratitude to those who are supporting us through this unusual time. Now it's my delight to introduce you and reintroduce you to Maestro Otto Tusk.
Thank you, Angela, and thank you all for being with us here now. As Angela mentioned right at the beginning, music is so important in our lives, and especially now. So I'm incredibly proud of the management team and the orchestra and the board and everyone around the VSO that we have made this possible. And I'm so thrilled that we're looking forward to a season filled with music. Music coming from Vancouver, and as Etienne so rightly said, and this is something I actually hadn't realized before, is that now my kids can also watch the concerts. Actually, it has a lot of benefits to make music and to release that digitally. Of course, it has challenges as well, but I think these challenges bring a lot of opportunities at the same time. Of course, it is challenging to translate music from a live concert performance to something online. But if you listen to music online, and if you get close to the musicians, if you can see their fingers, if you can feel their heart through the music, if you can feel the excitement of the music and of the composers and of the musicians so very close, and in your, let's say, intimate and comfortable setting at home, I think this is something new and something wonderful we can all start to experience. It is our job, and I'm sure we will make that happen with a wonderful team to make the sound as vivid and as beautiful as we can, and to make the images as exciting and as, let's say, intimate at the same time, so we can transport the beauty and the power of music through our stupid computer screens, because what more than a stupid computer screen this is? But actually what we can bring is the wonderful experience of music. So personally, I am actually looking forward very much to this experience. It's going to be an adventure. We will have a very, very wide, a broad diversity of repertoire, and we will be able to show you in this way all of our wonderful Vancouver Symphony Orchestra musicians. So I'm looking forward to it. But of course, as soon as we can, and as soon as the world allows us, we will be back on stage and perform live for you again. Thank you. Now, Olivia, over to you.
Thanks, Otto. It has obviously been a difficult time for all performing artists. We're used to having live audiences, and at the VSO, we're used to our wonderful, warm audiences filling the Orpheum. And recording, of course, feels very, very different. But right now I'm feeling excited, and I'm feeling proud of what we can share with you this season. We're back already. We've been rehearsing and recording. We had a wonderful start. The musicians are all talking about how great it is to be back together playing finally. And soon we will see Otto in person, and that will be another exciting step. I'm remembering when we played Beethoven 5 back in March and live streamed. So live streaming, of course, was very new and unusual for us at the time. It was very exciting, and it was a little tense. And what I will never forget is actually going home afterwards and reading all of the many, many comments that came in as the audience was watching the concert live. It was an amazing feeling to read through them. So if you are in our audience, please keep sending us those comments. We are playing for you. We know that you're listening, and we'll be thinking of you all when we play.
Thank you, Olivia. It's so true that, well, I went to be with the musicians this morning in the Orpheum, and I found myself crying. And part of that is the relief to finally come together as an ensemble, as a musical community, and also to begin to connect with what's familiar. And we know that there's still a lot that's not familiar, and playing to an empty house is something that is It's not within our experience. So I am going to encourage all of us, the board, Maestro Tausk, the musicians, our senior management team, and our staff to always remember the feeling of having that audience right there in those seats. We'll carry that feeling in our hearts as we assemble our repertoire and record it so that you can, in the safety of your own home, be with us once again. So as you know, we're launching subscriptions for TheConcertHall.ca. The subscriptions will be available for $12.99 a month or $129.99 annually. And you can expect for that series up to 40 VSO performances weekly, beginning on the 16th of October. And of course, subscriptions are wonderful. As you know, you can buy a subscription for your own home, but you could also at any time send a subscription to anyone around the world. As Otto said, his children can begin to engage in what he does on the stage here with the VSO. You can sign up for TheConcertHall.ca email today to be the first to know when the subscription launch starts. Just visit TheConcertHall.ca. And of course, mark your calendars for October 16th, when Maestro Tausk and our dear, dear, cherished friend, James Ennis, will open the VSO's Reimagined 2021 season. Subscriptions will go on sale a week today, September 27th, at TheConcertHall.ca, but you can be first in line by signing up today. And now, we're all here to invite your comments and your questions. And again, thank you for joining us. I know many of you have joined us for many, many years in a different format. We're coming to you live now from this podium and soon from the bigger podium. Okay. One of the questions is, will I be able to come to a concert this season? I love the Pops concerts. And we can't, that's outside of our purview. We don't know when live concerts will start in British Columbia. As you know, we have a wonderful leader with Bonnie Henry, Dr. Bonnie Henry, and it's within the purview of the specialists to allow us to have live concerts. So in the interim, we will bring you everything else through recordings. Maestro Tausk, here's a question for you. What excites you about this new digital age?
That's a very good question, because there's so much that excites me about this digital age. It opens up a lot of new ways to bring music. We can discover repertoire that we maybe wouldn't have done before. Of course, we're not able to sit with 120 musicians on stage right now, because that's just too many people together. So that means you have to start looking for repertoire, maybe for somewhat smaller orchestration. But that actually brings a lot of great repertoire to mind that otherwise you might have never thought of. The digital programming also gives you the opportunity to tell a story about the music you're playing, to give more background, give more insight in why are we playing this music? What did the composer actually mean with this specific piece? Or maybe even what is going through the mind of our first bassoon when she has to play a big solo? Maybe that's already in her mind 3 months before, and let's have a chat with her and see how that works. So it gives you a chance to experience music in a much broader sense. So I think there are many extras, many bonuses we're getting from digital presentation. I see there's another question for me. So I might just go on to the second question I see. What is it like conducting with full orchestra and an audience in Europe? What have you been doing with your time in quarantine? So let me start with that last question. My quarantine was something I was really dreading. I was scared of being inside for 2 weeks and not being able to go outside, because I love to be outside, especially when I'm in Canada. But I was so lucky that good friends of the orchestra have a wonderful place where I was offered to stay. So I have actually been enjoying Canadian nature as I have never before. And I'm able to read all the books, not worry about taking care of the family for 2 weeks, and not having to worry about being in time for rehearsal in the morning. There's so much to do. I have with me an Italian course that I wanted to start on the first day, but I have been so busy with all other things that I haven't even started that. So I'm starting to wish for another week of quarantine, but I'm sure more weeks will happen this season. What is it like conducting with full orchestra and an audience in Europe? It's very different at the moment all around the world. Many countries have different ways of responding to the situation, to the health and safety situation. It is true that in Europe, many orchestras have started playing for audiences. I have been giving a couple of concerts in the past weeks, but they are very different from what I have been used to so far in my concert life. First of all, the orchestra is sitting distanced. That means there's a lot of space between the musicians. And if you add up that space between the musicians right at the back of the orchestra are even further away from each other and from everyone else than we have ever experienced. So this is a lot of adjusting to do. You have to rely much more on what you see than only on what you hear. So if you're playing in the orchestra sitting really far away from everyone else, you hear everything a little bit later. And to make sure the timing works perfectly, you have to anticipate to what you see. So it demands a tremendous amount of proactive playing from all the musicians. I must say that the audiences are small, sometimes 50 people, sometimes 100 people. Maximum that I have seen so far is 350 people in the audience. But for me, there is no difference if there is one person or 1,000 person or 10,000 people in the audience. For me, it is all about the music, making the connection from the musicians to the audience. And if there's only one person in the audience enjoying the music and experiencing the power of music, I am already so very happy.
Thank you, Maestro. And it sounds like you're having a lovely quarantine.
I am.
So another question is, how many performances will there be each week? So we're planning on approximately one performance per week. But the advantage of digitization is that concert will then stay on TheConcertHall.ca for the season. So you and your family and friends can go back to that concert and enjoy it again. Maestro, will full concertos be included amongst the performances?
Absolutely. The presentation of a digital concert has different demands than on stage. For me personally, the concerts on stage, having a break in the middle is not ideal. I never like breaks. I always like to continue with the music, but breaks are important for the audience, and breaks are important for the musicians, and breaks are important for the bar in the hall as well. But having the opportunity of producing a concert, a very compact concert of, let's say, for instance, 1 hour of music, gives, I think, a very and strong concert experience. Now, we should make sure that in that program there is diversity in music, and I'm also sure we will absolutely perform parts of bigger works, but we will also perform entire works. And this is something we will experience and find out how that all works. But definitely full concertos will be included.
That's exciting. Looking forward to that. Now, as you know, we were very fortunate that we could get Maestro Tusk here and quarantined in time for his conducting next week. But the question now is about international guest artists. Does anybody want to respond to whether we're having international guest artists?
Well, I think first of all, this gives us the opportunity to highlight all the wonderful musicians that are in Vancouver already. So we have the musicians of the VSO, but there are also other great soloists that we have close by. This is something in general that I have experienced from this COVID time so far, is that I appreciate much more than before what is actually really close to me. The people, whatever happens around you nearby, suddenly has become much more visible and present. So that's my first answer. The second answer is that I love to have guest artists that come and inspire the orchestra and play for our audiences. So of course we will try to have international guests, but it's hard to say how we will do that, when and how we can plan.
Precisely. As I said earlier, you know, one of the key strategies for this season is to keep everybody safe and healthy. And so international travel is not always known for that. And actually that leads us to another question by one of our audience members. How will members of the VSO stay safe playing together? What is the physical distancing in performance mode? Well, perhaps I could begin by saying, as of March, our staff and musicians worked remotely, and most are still working remotely, although we are able to get together to play as a VSO ensemble each week. The number of musicians on a stage such as the Orpheum with safe social distancing, in other words, 2 meters between strings and 3 meters between winds and brass, allows us to have between 23 and 28 musicians on the stage of the Orpheum. And we have very strict protocol in place with mask wearing, and we have, of course, plexiglass barriers between sections, in particular the sections, the players in the winds and brass. Maestro, will we get Strauss's Metamorphosen for 23 strings?
Well, this is a beautiful piece, and 23 strings is probably doable. It's definitely on my wish list.
Excellent. Another question is, does the VSO have plans to commission new works by Canadian composers this year?
Of course, we always have plans for new commissions by Canadian composers. This totally fits into what I was saying about appreciate what is close by. One of the pieces we are actually recording very soon is not a new commission, but is a piece by Jennifer Butler, who is a Canadian young composer. It is a piece that is written, I think, several years ago, but still feels very contemporary and very now.
Again, really promoting local talent and highlighting Canadians around the world. So, Olivia, as a musician, how does it feel to you to know that a key strategy for this year is the promoting and highlighting of our VSO musicians and the inclusion of new Canadian works?
Well, I think it's quite a positive thing. I think we we love welcoming guest artists. It's always a highlight of our job, but I think it's a great opportunity to look close and look nearby. Same with, of course, Canadian composers. It's something that we're always doing, COVID or not. So yes, having opportunities to put a spotlight on any Canadian is a great thing.
It seems to me as well that highlighting the musicians of the VSO and the composers in the region, and in fact composers who are musicians of the VSO, is really important. And I know Otto and I also have been discussing in enthusiastic ways how COVID-19 has created an environment where we can begin a deeper collaboration with other arts organizations who are faced with the same challenges that we're faced with this year. So together, there's an opportunity to really have a strong voice around the importance and the power of music. So the next question is, does plexiglass change the sound at all?
Well, I'll try and answer that. I think plexiglass doesn't change the sound if you place it very intelligently. I think if you put it right in front of a trumpet, it will definitely change the sound. But if you place it maybe on the side, and if you play forward and then you put the plexiglass on the side, then I don't think it will change a great deal. Also, because we're now recording, that offers great opportunity to make the sound as beautiful and as natural as possible. I have no experience in how the sound is changed by the new stage setup with plexiglass in the hall, because I haven't been in a hall yet where the musicians have actually used the plexiglass.
One of the questions that's just come up, I think this is very interesting. If the Orpheum only holds up to 28 musicians, will the performances be from there or remote? And how will you do any of the larger works if you can only have 28 musicians on the stage?
Well, if you can have 28 musicians on the stage, you cannot do larger works. That's a very simple answer. But we might come up with a very creative solution of combining different captures to a bigger performance. But this is all still in a very early, creative and spontaneous stage.
Absolutely. I think this is the season of creativity and invention. And, you know, who better than artists, musicians, to be creative at a time when there are restrictions? That's what we do.
There's one thing I'd like to mention also about that, about the amount of musicians and the choice of repertoire. We shouldn't forget that there are big works, important works written for a large orchestra that have actually been arranged many times by the composer, her or himself, to a smaller instrumentation. Now, of course, you don't have the original piece. If you play a Mahler symphony with a chamber orchestra, it's a very different Mahler symphony, but it actually still is a Mahler symphony.
I think it will be extra exciting, of course, to return to our full numbers, and to, the first time we play a Mahler is going to be super exciting, extra exciting. At the same time, to just take a break from that and focus on pieces that we don't normally play can be nice. And most of us during a typical season would do a little bit of chamber music as well. And we have, for example, our VSO Chamber Players Series, which always happens in Pyatt Hall every season. But this year there might be just a little bit more of that and a little bit more focus on small things, which can be very enjoyable to play, but also very, very different. Like to play in a quartet is obviously very, very different. And it's kind of, it's good for us as well. It's a different kind of listening that is good for us as well as enjoyable.
Absolutely. Well, here's the question of the season. What do you think the future of live performances will be? I think we should all take a few minutes to respond to that. What do we think the future of live performances will be?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is that the live performances will never go away. And as soon as it's possible to give live performances, there will be live performances. Of course, I can't predict when that is, and I cannot say how we will then be able to do that. But I think the experience of, let's say, vibrations through the air that reach your ear directly from a musician on stage is something unique and something that will never go away. It's our job, and it's my job to make sure that we make sure that is saved for the future.
Absolutely. Olivia, any thoughts?
Yeah, please go ahead, Olivia. Yeah.
Well, I totally agree. I think as we do get transition back eventually, it's one of those things. I think that everyone has different comfort levels, and so it may take a little bit of time to get back to fully where we were, but I agree with you. I believe that we will get there. I believe that the experience is unique, and though it may also be nice to sit on your couch and watch, I think that we will have a long enough time of craving this great experience that I do expect it. We will get back there.
We will get back, but we also will have gained something that we might not want to let go of again. Mm-hmm. We might even find that experiencing the digital concerts also offers great opportunities and wonderful experiences that we want to continue them as well. I think you agree, Angela.
I do. You know, what we've been saying for the past 6 months, as we've tried to plan and strategize on a constantly changing world, one of the statements we've made a lot is we have to embrace ambiguity because we just didn't know. And now I'm going to say, let us take this opportunity to embrace this virtual world. Just take the opportunity to embrace this virtual world. And I do believe that the strength of the creativity of this virtual world combined with that transformative power of live performances probably will be the hybrid of the future. There's a question about, will we this season have some opportunities for limited audiences? And again, it really is not within our purview to begin to imagine when we can have live audiences. So for this, at this point in time, we're really focusing our attention on TheConcertHall.ca. A question about, would we do Carnival of the Animals this season?
Well, my kids would love that. But well, we would have to fit the pianos on stage as well. So
what I can say is that in our planning, Carnival of the Animals has certainly been mentioned several times in our planning for family concerts and education concerts, because, you know, those are all clear objectives of the VSO, community engagement and education. But we are also working very closely with our Indigenous Council here at the VSO in collaboration with Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam, as well as Métis and youth. And we are beginning to evolve something called Our Carnival of the Animals that's going to be creatively designed in combination with the VSO and our Indigenous Council. So we're looking forward to that as well. Oh, this is a hard one. Who's your favorite Canadian artist to collaborate with you with?
I don't actually find it hard. There are many, but to me, there is one obvious answer, and it's not because we just played with him this week,
Yeah.
but it's James Ennis, and we've been fortunate to play with him so many times, and we'd have him back every week if he wants to come. We, of course, recorded with him some years ago and won a Grammy and a Juno. So I feel like he's our hero. He's a hero of the VSO. And in case you haven't had the opportunity, not only is he the most amazing musician, but he's a lovely, lovely person. So it was really I couldn't imagine a more perfect start and return back to playing, to have him with us. It was very inspiring.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I feel totally the same about James. I have a personal connection with James from many, many years ago when I met him for the first time in Auckland, New Zealand, where we performed together. And I remember that we ended up at the same sushi restaurant every day for lunch. And this is the way I got to know him personally. And then meeting him again here in Vancouver is one of the most exciting. Was one of the most exciting moments in my short career with the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra so far.
Absolutely. I think I would have to agree with both of you. I mean, I've got a list, a kilometer long of favorite Canadian artists to collaborate with, but the magic of James Ennis being here last week with us, and everybody who's watching, you can enjoy that performance and appreciate that performance on October 16th at 7:30 p.m. on TheConcertHall.ca. So I would have to agree. He's magical. He's magical.
Well, there's one Canadian artist who is an absolute favorite of mine, and I don't think she has ever been to the orchestra, and that's Barbara Hannigan. And so this is someone I hope in the near future we will also be able to get new Canadian faces in Vancouver. Absolutely.
I think that's what we're going to be focusing on for this virtual season. There's a question about CDs and DVDs for sale. At this particular point in time, I don't believe we have any CDs or DVDs for sale, but it's a strategy we're working on. So everybody stay tuned for more.
We don't have recent CDs. But
exactly. Exactly. With James Ennis. Okay, I think those are all the questions we've had. Otto, Maestro Tausk, do you have any questions?
No, my question would be, please join us, because we're going to have some wonderful concerts for you coming up really soon.
That's perfect. And Olivia, anything you'd like to add?
Ditto. Excited to play for you. We'll be thinking of you. Send us your comments.
Yes, as Olivia said, it means so much to keep in touch. The last 6 months, we've tried to reach out to you, and we've had tremendous responses from you, not only in positive comments and suggestions, which we take very seriously, but of course also our friends, our patrons have been extraordinarily generous. I can't let this presentation go without thanking the government of British Columbia and the federal government. I have been in touch with both on a regular basis, and it is absolutely heartwarming to see the commitment that the government of BC and the federal government is making so that the VSO can, as Etienne says, not survive but thrive through this season. And we look forward to hearing all of what the VSO has in store for us this year. both in our larger ensembles and our smaller ensembles. And we look forward to hearing from you, our audience members, our friends, our patrons, our board. Thank you so much for your generosity. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you for your trust. Be well, stay safe, be kind to one another. See you soon. Bye for now.